Most marketing campaigns don't fail because of bad ads. They fail before the ads even run. And that's a very uncomfortable truth, because when a campaign underperforms, most teams look at the wrong things. They blame the creative. They adjust the budget. They tweak the targeting. But none of those fix the real problem, because the failure is already built into the campaign. In this video, I'll show you why most marketing campaigns fail at a structural level, and how to fix it before you waste time and budget on execution. And once you see this, you'll start recognizing why some campaigns work immediately, while others never even had a chance. So let's get into it. When a campaign underperforms, marketing teams often look at the visible parts of the campaign: the ads, the design, the copy, the targeting settings. These are the things we can easily see, so naturally they become the first suspect. But this is similar to diagnosing a sick patient by only looking at their skin. You are examining the surface, while the real cause is much deeper. Campaigns rarely fail because the headline wasn't clever enough. They rarely fail because the visual design wasn't attractive enough. Those things can help, but they rarely determine success. The deeper cause is almost always this: the campaign message does not match the audience's real experience. If the audience does not feel understood, they ignore the message. And when that happens, even the most creative campaign becomes invisible. It's simply irrelevant, unrelatable. To see why this happens so often, we need to examine how many marketers define their audience. Which brings us to mistake number 1: targeting audiences too broadly. One of the most common reasons marketing campaigns fail is overly broad targeting. Many marketers define their audience using demographics. Things like age, gender, income level, location. So a campaign might target something like women aged 25 to 45-year-old, young professionals, small business owners. At first glance, these categories seem reasonable, but they miss something incredibly important. They describe who people are, but they don't describe what people are experiencing. Two people inside the same demographic category can live completely different realities. For example, let's take two small business owners. They might face entirely different challenges. One may struggle with marketing, another may struggle with hiring employees. A third one may struggle with time management. If your marketing message is built on demographics alone, which of the three you're actually targeting? If you try to encompass all three of them, your message becomes generic, and generic marketing feels irrelevant. It's unrelatable. When a message doesn't feel personally relevant, the brain filters it out instantly. This is why so many campaigns get ignored, not because the creative is weak, but because the message doesn't match the real-life situation. So how do marketers fix this? They need a structured way to understand the audience, which brings us to the framework fix. Whenever I work on new campaigns, I always use this useful framework to understand the audience I'm about to engage. Instead of describing audiences with demographics, this framework allows me to analyze the audience through 3 different dimensions. The first one is jobs. Jobs describe what people are trying to accomplish in their line of work. One step deeper, it breaks down into 3 different layers. There are technical tasks somebody has to accomplish, then there are psychological, emotional tasks, how they want to feel, and finally, social tasks, how they want to be perceived by others. The second dimension is problems. These are the frustrations and obstacles people experience while trying to accomplish those tasks. These are the things that make progress difficult. Again, these break down into technical pains, emotional pains, and social pains. And the last dimension is gains. These describe the outcomes people want, what they wish the current friction they experience would be replaced with. So when I map these 3 dimensions, tasks or jobs, problems or pains, and gains, something powerful happens. I begin to see the audience's real context, not just who they are, but what they are actually going through. And when campaign messages reflect that real experience, they instantly become more relevant, relatable, recognizable. But even when marketers understand their audience well, campaigns can still fail. Which brings us to mistake number 2: communicating value incorrectly. Many marketing campaigns communicate value in a way that feels logical to the company, but meaningless to the customer. The most common example I've seen during over 20 years that I've spent in the marketing industry is the feature-based messaging. Brands love talking about things like how the product works, technical specifications, new technology and innovation inside the product, everything that product includes. But customers don't think in terms of features. They think in terms of outcomes. They think about the problems they want solved, frustrations they want removed, improvements they want in their life, and the person they want to become. When marketing focuses only on features, it speaks a language the audience is not thinking in. It answers questions nobody has asked yet. This creates emotional distance between the brand and the audience. Fortunately, there's a framework that helps marketers communicate value more effectively. So the framework fix. There are 6 different levels of value you can use to describe your product. The first one is product features. It answers the question what the product has, what it offers, what it is. The second level is benefits. What the product does, what this brings to the table for the customer. Most marketing campaigns stop here, but the actual persuasion starts at the next levels. Level 3 is problem solved. What frustration disappears. Level 4 is the enemy the brand fights. What negative force or friction your product helps overcome. Then level 5, life improvement. How the person's life becomes better thanks to your product. And the deepest level, identity transformation. Who your customer gets to be. This level is powerful because people rarely buy products for the product itself. They buy progress towards a better versions of themselves. For example, someone doesn't buy a fitness program because it's 12 weeks workout system. They buy it because they want to feel confident in their body. They want energy. They want to become someone who takes care of themselves. When marketing communicates at deeper levels of the persuasion ladder, the message becomes emotionally meaningful. But there's one more important insight. Strong persuasion flows in the opposite direction most marketers use. Most marketers structure their messaging like this: product, features, benefits, customer. They start with the product. They explain why it matters. But customers enter the persuasion process from the opposite direction. They start with their own experience, their frustrations, their problems, their aspirations, their desired future. Relevant and recognizable marketing efforts begin with those deeper layers. First, the audience sees their situation described clearly. Then they see the future they want. Only after that does the product appear as the solution. When this happens, the message feels natural, relevant, relatable, recognizable, because it mirrors the way people already think. When I look at successful marketing campaigns, they always share several structural characteristics. First, they define the audience through real-life problems, not demographics. Second, they understand the audience's context using jobs, pains, and gains. Third, they communicate value through deeper persuasion levels, not just features. And fourth, they align their message with the audience's current psychological state. When these structures are clear, structuring and designing campaign becomes much easier. Creative work becomes more effective. Advertising becomes more efficient, because the campaign message is built on real human experience. Creativity then amplifies clarity, instead of trying to compensate for the lack of it. So why do so many campaigns ignore these principles? It's because many marketing teams rely heavily on personal tastes and opinions. In many organizations, marketing decisions happen like this. One person prefers one headline, another person prefers a different message. A third person wants to reposition the campaign. Meetings become debates. A lot of personal taste and opinions are put on the table. Meetings become debates. Campaigns get revised repeatedly. Creative work gets rewritten multiple times. And the deeper strategic questions never get resolved. This is what happens when marketing lacks structural frameworks. Frameworks that help you replace personal taste and opinions with structure. Frameworks that help you clarify who the audience really is, what problems they face, what value the brand provides, and how that value should be communicated. When these structures are clear, marketing becomes far less chaotic and far more predictable. Now I want to involve you in this process. One of the best ways to understand marketing frameworks is to apply them to real actual cases. So I'd like to ask you something. What marketing challenge are you currently facing? Maybe you ran a campaign that didn't perform. Maybe your messaging isn't resonating with your audience. Maybe your marketing work keeps getting confirmed and then reopened again. Maybe you are struggling to clearly define who your customer actually is. Drop me a comment, describe your marketing challenge or problem that you are currently facing, and I will turn the most interesting challenges into future videos. We'll analyze them together and break them down using the structural frameworks we discuss on this channel, because the goal of this channel is simple: to help marketers replace opinion-driven marketing with structured strategic thinking. I'll see you in the next one.